Success comes from disciplined thinking, attitude, and action, and sometimes a little luck is needed to achieve it. The 15 lessons, laws of success. 1. Definiteness of purpose. Know exactly what you want and focus all efforts toward achieving it. 2. Self-confidence. Believe in yourself. Confidence fuels action and persistence. 3. Initiative and leadership. Take charge and step forward. Leaders act with decisiveness and vision. 4. Imagination. Creativity generates ideas, which become the foundation of innovation and opportunity. 5. Action. Dreams mean nothing without action. Execution is where success is born. 6. Enthusiasm. A contagious energy that motivates both you and others. 7. Self-control. Discipline your thoughts, habits, and emotions to stay aligned with your purpose. 8. The golden rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated. This builds trust and integrity. 9. Concentration. Focus your efforts on one major goal. Avoid distraction and dilution. 10. Persistence. Endure through failures and setbacks. Quitting is the enemy of success. 11. Failure. Embrace failure as a teacher. Each loss contains a seed of growth. 12. Tolerance. Open-mindedness and cooperation are key to working with others and expanding perspective. 13. The mastermind. Surround yourself with a team of like-minded, driven individuals. Collective power exceeds individual effort. 14. Profiting by adversity. Turn challenges into opportunities. Setbacks are setups for comebacks. 15. Budgeting time and money. Manage your time and resources wisely. Discipline in these areas sustains long-term success. The rise of Noah, a story of success. In the heart of Detroit, Michigan, in the early 2010s, Noah Jackson lived in a cramped, run-down apartment on the edge of the city's east side. The neighborhood was a patchwork of abandoned factories and boarded-up storefronts, a relic of the city's industrial decline. Noah, a lanky 19-year-old with deep brown eyes that seemed to hold both hunger and hope, shared the small space with his mother, Clara, and his younger sister, Maya. Clara worked long hours as a cashier at a local convenience store, her hands calloused from years of labor, while Maya, a bright-eyed 12-year-old, dreamed of becoming a doctor despite their circumstances. The family's income barely covered rent, and meals often consisted of canned beans and day-old bread from the store's discount bin. Noah's clothes were hand-me-downs, his sneakers held together with duct tape, but he carried himself with a quiet determination that set him apart from the despair around him. Noah had a singular dream that burned in his chest like a furnace. He wanted to open a community center in Detroit, a place where kids like Maya could study, play, and dream without the weight of poverty crushing them. He pictured a brightly lit building with computers, books, and a basketball court, a safe haven in a city where gunshots often echoed at night. This vision wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was a purpose that gave him clarity amidst the chaos of his life. Every morning, as he walked past the graffiti-covered walls to his job at a local auto repair shop, he'd whisper to himself, "I'm going to make it happen. I will." At the shop, Noah worked under the gruff supervision of Mr. Henderson, a barrel-chested man in his 50s with a permanent scowl. The shop smelled of motor oil and rust, and Noah's days were spent changing tires, scrubbing grease off his hands, and fetching tools for the older mechanics, who often mocked his skinny frame. "You'll never amount to much, kid," one of them sneered one day, tossing a wrench at Noah's feet. But Noah didn't let their words sink in. He'd learned early on to believe in himself, even when others didn't. He'd smile, pick up the wrench, and keep working, all the while imagining his community center taking shape in his mind, down to the color of the walls, a warm yellow, and the sound of laughter echoing through its halls. Noah knew he couldn't achieve his dream by just dreaming. He needed a plan, and he needed to act. After work, he'd spend hours at the public library, a crumbling building with flickering lights and outdated computers. There, he taught himself the basics of business: how to write a proposal, how to budget, how to pitch an idea. He'd scribble notes on napkins, his handwriting messy but determined, and sketch out floor plans for his center on the backs of discarded flyers. He didn't have a mentor or a guide, but he had initiative, a fire inside him that pushed him to take the first step, then the next, even when the path was unclear. One evening, while walking home under the orange glow of streetlights, Noah spotted a flyer taped to a pole. Detroit Small Business Pitch Competition, $10,000 prize for the best idea. His heart raced. This was his chance. But doubt crept in. His idea was big, but he had no money, no connections, and no formal education. Still, he pushed the doubt aside, channeling a belief in his own potential that felt unshakable. He spent the next 2 weeks preparing, barely sleeping, his eyes bloodshot but alive with purpose. He crafted a pitch that painted a vivid picture of his community center, emphasizing how it would give kids a future in a city that often forgot them. He practiced in front of a cracked mirror in his apartment, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. The day of the competition arrived, a chilly Saturday in March. The event was held at a downtown hotel, a sleek building with glass doors and marble floors that made Noah feel out of place in his faded jacket and scuffed sneakers. The room was filled with polished entrepreneurs in suits, their laptops gleaming, their voices confident. Noah's hands shook as he clutched his handwritten notes, but when his name was called, he stood tall, his voice ringing with passion. "My name is Noah Jackson, and I believe every child in Detroit deserves a chance to dream," he began. He spoke of Maya, of the kids in his neighborhood who played in empty lots because they had nowhere else to go, and of his vision for a center that would change their lives. The judges, a panel of local business owners, listened intently, their expressions unreadable. When the results were announced, Noah's name wasn't called for first place, or second or third. He felt a pang of disappointment, but he didn't let it break him. Instead, he approached one of the judges, Ms. Evelyn Carter, a sharp-eyed woman who owned a chain of grocery stores. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice steady despite the rejection. "I'd like to know how I can improve." Ms. Carter looked him up and down, then smiled faintly. "You've got heart, kid," she said. "Your idea is good, but you need to show numbers, real data, projections. And you need to think bigger. Don't just ask for $10,000. Ask for what you really need to make this happen." Noah nodded, soaking in her advice like a sponge. He didn't see the loss as a failure, but as a lesson, a stepping stone on his path. Over the next year, Noah threw himself into his dream with relentless energy. He worked extra hours at the shop, saving every penny he could, even skipping meals to put more money aside. He taught himself how to create financial projections, using a borrowed laptop from a neighbor, and researched grants for community projects. He knocked on doors, pitching his idea to anyone who would listen. Local churches, small business owners, even the principal of Maya's school. Many turned him away, but Noah's enthusiasm was infectious. He spoke with such conviction that people couldn't help but listen, even if they didn't believe in his dream as much as he did. One day, while delivering a tire to a client, Noah met Mr. Daniel Brooks, a retired factory owner who'd made a small fortune in the auto industry. Mr. Brooks, a wiry man with gray hair and a sharp gaze, was intrigued by Noah's pitch. "You remind me of myself at your age," he said, leaning against his vintage Cadillac. "I started with nothing too. And tell you what, I'll invest $50,000 in your center, but I want to see you make it happen." Noah's eyes widened, his heart pounding. He shook Mr. Brooks's hand, his grip firm, and promised he wouldn't let him down. With the investment, Noah leased a small, dilapidated building on the edge of his neighborhood. It was a fixer-upper with broken windows and a leaky roof, but Noah saw its potential. He rallied a group of volunteers, friends from the neighborhood, Maya's teachers, even Mr. Henderson, who'd grown fond of Noah's determination. They spent weekends painting walls, fixing pipes, and hauling in secondhand furniture. Noah's hands blistered from the work, but he never complained. He'd look at the building, now painted that warm yellow he'd envisioned, and feel a surge of pride. The community center opened on a sunny afternoon in June 2015. Noah stood at the entrance, a homemade banner above him reading East Side Dreams Community Center. Kids from the neighborhood poured in, their laughter filling the air as they raced to the basketball court and the small computer lab. Maya, now 14, helped set up a study corner, her eyes shining with pride for her brother. Clara was there too, tears in her eyes as she watched Noah cut the ribbon with a pair of rusty scissors. The local news covered the opening, and Noah's story spread, inspiring others in Detroit to believe in their own dreams. Over the next decade, Noah's center grew. He secured more funding, expanded the building, and added programs for job training and mental health support. By 2025, at the age of 31, Noah was a respected figure in Detroit, his name synonymous with hope. He'd moved his family into a modest but comfortable house in a safer part of the city, and Maya was now in college, studying pre-med at the University of Michigan. Noah himself had become a millionaire, not through greed, but through the success of his mission. Donations and grants poured in as his center became a model for community development across the country. Noah never forgot where he came from. Every morning he'd walk through the center, now bustling with activity, and feel a quiet gratitude. He'd built something lasting, something that proved what he'd always believed, that with a clear purpose, unwavering belief in himself, and the courage to keep going even when the odds were against him, he could turn his dreams into reality. And in doing so, he'd given countless others the chance to do the same. Success is achieved through a definite purpose, unwavering faith, and the persistent application of the 15 laws of success, transforming desire into tangible wealth and fulfillment.